Humanity is set adrift, living within a whirlwind of events, a labyrinth of experience, ecstasy and tragedy, so vaporous and intricate that for many there is no distinguishable pattern, nothing to decipher. Life is a phantom with little meaning or tangible, tactile truth. For those amidst this apparent chaos, nothing is clear or certain. However, all of human history can be represented quite simply as a spiraling movement between opposing ideas and forces towards one of only two possible outcomes: understanding or catastrophe. This progression of time and the development of human awareness flow forward and converge in focused and balanced cycles, inevitably leading to the archetypal clash of opposites, which then give birth to new and great ideas. There are those who steward over this natural cycle of events, allowing the course of history to find its own way, and eventually, its own moments of clarity. But this is not the whole story, for there are also others who have the knowledge and ability to interfere in the natural progression of events, who consciously manipulate the meeting of opposites, luring men to catastrophe and away from understanding. In this series, we will explore the elements of this vast and imperative conflict, which, at this very moment, is about to engulf all of mankind.
And now then, because we are introducing this amazing item for the first time in this country, it isn't going to cost you 1 cent.
Exploring tomorrow.
Before delving into the facets of collectivism, we must first understand one of its most essential tenets, a belief which skews and warps the collectivist philosophy, making it a destructive force of imbalance. This belief is the almost religious conviction that man is born as a blank slate. Collectivists believe that a human being's nature is entirely determined by the environment into which he was born, that he is therefore a product, an amalgamation of his surroundings and experiences. Take these away, and he becomes nothing but an empty shell.
Everything that we understand has been taught to us in some capacity, especially our operations. Every word I'm saying has been taught to me. Every concept has been relayed in some capacity to me, and through my mental operations, which is a form of conditioning, I have arrived at novel conclusions. My originality is simply because of the environmental influences that are completely and utterly conditioned to me as opposed to everyone else. Everyone is different because they come from different conditioning, in other words. The most important is to realize why people behave the way they do. And I argue that it is not genetics, it is behaviorism based on conditioning.
They also believe that morality, spirituality, and ideas of right and wrong are products of environment as well. Good and evil are not tangible realities to them, only illusory constructs created by humanity itself to better function as a group.
Well, what is evil? Define it for me. What causes evil? What causes someone to behave in an evil manner?
Well, I'm asking you, do you believe evil exists?
Absolutely not, because based on the definition of evil, it's basically a religious connotation. It doesn't mean anything. It's an empty distinction. If I was to redefine it, I'd say evil would be aberrant behavior. And if I was to define aberrant behavior, I would say almost conclusively that aberrant behavior is caused by the necessities of the environment.
This ideology was born from the existentialist movement, which in turn gave rise to moral relativism, which we will discuss later in this series. The problem with the blank slate theory is that it is entirely false. As has been proven in the fields of linguistics, mathematics, and Jungian psychology, among other disciplines.
There are a number of reasons to doubt that the human mind is a blank slate. And some of them just come from common sense. As many people have told me over the years, anyone who's had more than one child knows that kids come into the world with certain temperaments and talents. It doesn't all come from the outside. Oh, and anyone who has both a child and a house pet has surely noticed that the child exposed to speech will acquire a human language, whereas the house pet won't, presumably because of some innate difference between them.
In 1957, a professor by the name of Noam Chomsky published a monograph on modern linguistics called Syntactic Structures. The piece revolutionized the manner in which language was studied and brought a resounding challenge to the proponents of the blank slate theory. Blank slate scholars in the field of linguistics maintained a structuralist view of language. To them, language was a purely social phenomenon, like tool-making or table manners. Language was simply a product of environment, just as man was simply a product of environment. Deeper questions of language and mind, including how young children can dope out their native language from the wash of adult talk surrounding them, were never considered. But Mr. Chomsky was deeply troubled by this account. In the mid-1950s, he began wrestling with questions he felt the structuralists could not answer. If language was simply learned behavior, what gave people the ability to produce and understand an infinite number of sentences, including those that had never been uttered before? How did children acquire language seemingly spontaneously, without being overtly taught? What Chomsky soon discovered was that language was not at all a product of environment, and that the structuralist view explained almost nothing about the origins of verbal communication. Chomsky turned to what he called a generative view of linguistics, finding that the basic roots of language are inherent in every human being at birth. Language, Mr. Chomsky came to believe, was rooted not in behavior, but in biology, in an inborn set of principles that speakers unconsciously draw on whenever they produce or understand sentences.